judges, you may begin.
Welcome. We are very excited to see you guys. My name is Darcy Kern. I am a professor of history at Southern Connecticut State University. I'm also an alumna of the program. It's a great program and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Hi, my name is Tim Isaacs. I am Executive Director at the Center for Teaching the Rule of Law in Salem, Virginia. And I want to welcome you to the finals. It must certainly be well-deserved or you wouldn't be here.
Welcome and congratulations for making it to the national finals. My name is Jamie Gass. I'm director of the Center for School Reform at Pioneer Institute. It's a Boston-based think tank that does research around K-12 education reform.
My name is Ivy Taylor. I'm a junior at Campbell.
My name is Monty Holcomb. I'm a junior at Clay County High School.
My name is Serena Neal. I'm a junior at Clay County High School, and our teacher is Mr. Philip Dobbins, and our coach is Mr. Mike Mullins.
Excellent. Before you begin, I just wanted to know, Ivy, you looked like you had a little bit of a glitch with the sound when you were speaking. It might be an internet problem. It might be worthwhile to stop your video during presentation. I know it becomes a little bit harder, but that way the sound quality should be better.
Okay.
And I don't know about the other judges, but I was having a hard time hearing Monty.
I heard him fine, but.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and ask you question 1. So I will read the question and then turn it over to you guys for your response. So question 1. The American War is over, but this is far from being the case with the American Revolution, wrote Benjamin Rush. To what extent, if any, did revolutionary principles influence constitution making during the founding period? What problems, if any, does the principle of consent present when creating or amending constitutions? To what extent, if any, are revolutionary principles evident in modern times? You may begin.
Revolutionary principles were what the founders called natural rights and liberties, God-given rights such as protection against tyrannical oppression, freedom of speech, and equality. Under natural law, all people have these rights, and as these rights may be oppressed by a tyrannical government, the people have a right to revolutionary actions. These were the freedoms withheld from them during the reign of Great Britain. The founders knew they needed a written constitution to set limits on power in the government and the people within it, to protect the freedoms they fought so hard to earn, giving us one of the most important fundamentals of our American government, checks and balances, which restrains the government from taking away citizens' rights, as well as gives us a maintained and well-balanced government.
Dr. Benjamin Rush's address to the people brings to light many of the issues with post-revolution America. These issues range from weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation, such as non-uniform currency and a single House of Congress, to weaknesses in the people themselves. He pointed out 4 specific defects that needed to be fixed, these being the deficiency of coercive power, inability to issue paper money, the power of the U.S. resting in a single legislature, and members of Congress rotating too frequently. Not only did the doctor just point out these issues, but he brought forth solutions. The following paragraphs listed ways each of these defects could be fixed, and why such changes needed to be made.
A major Articles of Confederation with consent. Constitutional amendments are to improve, correct, or otherwise revise the original document. There are 2 methods derived from Article 5 which explain how the Constitution can be amended. The Constitution provides that an amendment may be proposed either by Congress with 2/3 majority vote in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, or by a constitutional convention called by 2/3 of state legislatures. Approximately 11,770 measures have been proposed to amend the United States Constitution. House and Senate typically propose congressional committees in which they were proposed. Since the 1789, Congress has sent 33 amendments to the states for ratification. Of these, 27 have been ratified. First 10 amendments, known as the Bill of Rights, were added in 1791 in response to charges by anti-federalist But the Constitution made the national government too powerful and provided no protections for rights of individuals. When the founders were creating the Constitution, they wanted to make the amendment process difficult because they wanted to lock in the political deals that made ratification of the Constitution possible. Because amending the Constitution is such a vigorous process, many proposed amendments never get ratified. This causes problems because, unlike constitutions of Germany and France, which are updated every 2 years or sometimes yearly, we are missing amendments that could help us with our evolving world.
After going over issues in the current American government, Dr. Rush pointed out two errors on the very subject of government. These were the misinterpretation of sovereignty and the diffusing of knowledge, which were said to lead to the most dangerous of consequences. In 1806, Benjamin Rush said that freedom can only exist in a society of knowledge. Without learning, men are incapable of knowing their rights. Yet again, solutions were brought forth and why such changes were necessary. Many of the specific changes can be explicitly found in the Constitutional Convention of 1787, such as the splitting of the legislature into two houses. These ideals of putting power in the hands of the people are at the core of American ideals, and the ability to question and change the government is what makes America a symbol of freedom. As Thomas Jefferson once said, the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants.
Thank you. I have a question on this point you made about diffusing knowledge, or the diffusion of knowledge and knowing rights. How do we achieve a population that knows their rights, that is full of knowledge, but not only full of knowledge, knows how to apply knowledge?
I feel like it's the citizens' responsibility to know their rights, and if they don't know their rights, to educate themselves on their rights, to improve quality of life and their knowledge of politics, all sorts of other things. And I also believe that their rights and teach them how to apply them to everyday lives.
Right. I'm not sure if Ivy may have said this due to some communication errors, but I believe it is the role of our education systems to better the knowledge of our people in courses like we are in currently right now, civics courses and history courses. Not only is it important for people to know their rights and know how to use these rights, it's also important to know how these rights have been used in the past. And that's why we have these history courses. We can see where they've been made before, where these mistakes have been made before, so that history does not repeat itself and we can make better decisions going forwards.
Following the Declaration of Independence in 1776, several of the states crafted state constitutions. Could you discuss why they did this? Why did the states establish these state constitutions, and what does it say about American constitutionalism?
These states, I believe they wanted their own constitutions because they wanted to show that they had their own forms of power. One of the large issues in the Constitutional Convention was the balance of power between the states and the national government. That's where we get the argument of Federalists versus Anti-Federalists. I believe the creation of these constitutions with the states showing that they still had some power of their own and they were able to rule their own people and able to make their own decisions. It was a form of a statement showing the national government that we have power too.
And like we have the National Bill of Rights, we also have state bills of rights. Every 50 states has a bill of rights. Expands on the National Bill of Rights, giving citizens of these states more rights, such as the right to an education.
I'm not for sure if Ivy said this earlier, but I feel like it still gave the states some type of form of sovereignty, and that was kind of their balancing point, where the states had a little bit of their own room, and they had to follow federal law, which was what the government regulates.
I'd like to go back to something you said earlier about amendments. One of you said and I'm paraphrasing, we are missing amendments that are obstructing American progress, that stand in the way of American progress. Can you identify some of the things you're talking about?
So especially in today's society, we have a problem with equalism with the Black Lives Matter movement and LGBTQ rights. I feel that a equal rights amendment would vastly impact, especially in today's world. That would be a fantastic.
And to add on to what Ivy has said here, I believe it'd be very necessary for the United States to come with a privacy amendment. Privacy is not guaranteed to the American people, however, it's something nearly every American could agree that they would want. And one of the key things about America that made us want to separate from Great Britain, we did not have any privacy. And it's a going on problem in today with the NSA. A lot of people have an issue with the way that they monitor American citizens, and tech companies, a lot of people have an issue with their data being sold. Tech companies will sell people's data not even for malicious purposes, just to make money. And I believe it's a huge issue. I don't want my data being sold, and I'd say a lot of people in this call wouldn't want their data being sold. So I believe it's very necessary for the United States to come out with a privacy amendment to protect people, and that way we can focus on bigger issues.
Okay, thank you.
Ivy, could I follow up on that and ask you, what would an equal rights amendment contain that is not currently in the other amendments to the Constitution, such as due process?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You were kind of in and out.
Sure. What would an equal rights amendment contain that is not currently in the Bill of Rights?
Non-discrimination laws. I know that we sort of have that, but especially today, we see a lot of discrimination in our courts and with our police force with African American. If we added that, that would go a long way in moving forward.
Got a question for you here. So Benjamin Rush was friends with Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, who were both revolutionary allies and then later presidential rivals. How did Thomas Jefferson and John Adams' view of revolution differ?
Well, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, to start with, they had very differing political views on the power of government. Thomas Jefferson was a very well-known anti-federalist. He was very for power of the people and the states, and this came up as a large issue in the election that they ran off against each other. And honestly, that was one of the roughest elections in American history. There was a lot of dirty fighting going on there, a lot of words thrown around that people didn't like. But to be honest, I would say the main issue between those two and between their ideals would be their ideas on the power of government and the balance of that power between the states and the national government. Thomas Jefferson obviously wanting a lot more power residing within the states and the people, and John Adams wanting a lot more power residing within the national government. And this isn't to say that they wanted no power in the opposite. They just wanted that power to be better balanced, and they did what they were thinking was right to make the government better. Again, they did not want no power to go to the national government, or no power to go to the states.
Does another judge have a question?
Yeah,
No,
Yeah, nope.
stopping.
Yeah. Anyway, well, first of all, I want to thank you and your teacher and your parents for all your hard work. It's difficult material. In some instances, it's not material you'll see, might get exposed to until you get to college. but I thought you did a nice job with it. I thought that you did a good job up front talking about natural rights and liberties. I liked how you used Benjamin Rush in some of his remarks. Use the quote from him to expand a little more and talk about some of the deficiencies of the Articles of Confederation. I think it's the first time that we've heard and kind of given the Anti-Federalists credit for really lobbying or making arguments on behalf of the need for a national Bill of Rights. But I think you were also clear too that, of course, Bill of Rights, it's important to have the Bill of Rights in the states too, and that certainly is true. I like the way in which you talked about the diffusion of knowledge in the introductory remarks, and particularly use the term the society of knowledge. And if there's anything that a republic like ours really rests on, it's it being a society based on knowledge. That was, you carried that through and elaborated it more with the question from my colleague about the diffusion of knowledge. And you connected that actually to the question that I had about states. And one of you specifically said that education and the importance of education is part of the state constitutions, and that's true. That's absolutely true. The state constitutions are actually very specific and clear and much more detailed about the importance of education. The federal constitution is silent on that topic. So I thought it was good, a very good discussion about sort of the more contemporary issues around Black Lives Matter and ERA and others, but also issues around privacy. I thought it was an interesting conversation. And I like the way you brought in the discussion of the election of 1800 to explain your answer with my question about Jefferson and Adams and revolution. So you did a very solid job.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought you outlined things very clearly in your introductory statement. I liked, Ivy, your response to my question and how you said it's actually the citizens' responsibility to make sure that they're educated, not just the education system's responsibility. I thought that was a very good answer. I also liked, Monty, your answer at the end about Jefferson and Adams. I thought that was interesting how you said it wasn't that they just wanted one or the other. They were looking at the correct balance between federal and state. So I thought that was a very sophisticated answer. And I really enjoyed this. I thought you guys had very clear examples. I thought you stretched yourself by talking about the number of amendments, the state Bill of Rights, the privacy amendment. And yeah, this was very solid.
Oh, excuse me. I would agree. I thought you did a good job answering the question that I answered. There was continuity and consistency from beginning to end. There were no potholes that you fell into. You addressed the required questions and the follow-up questions equally well. I would have liked to have asked the question about Jefferson's quotation on the tree of liberty needing to be watered by the blood of patriots. I've always found that to be a fascinating quotation. I don't necessarily agree with him, but it's a question I would like to have pursued. But you did a good job. I'm very pleased with what you did, particularly for a small group. That's very hard to do. Thank you all and good luck.
All right, guys.